After a while, Vin reflects on how unfortunate it was that Art couldn't find anything. He lies, suggesting that Art was looking for a high-quality sword, something powerful yet not overly fancy. Vin is confident that Art will find something suitable in their storage. Blaine taps Vin on the shoulder, and as Tabby notices him, she hopes Blaine is enjoying the evening. Blaine expresses his amazement at how Vin managed to secure a Class Beast cause from a Silver Class Beast, and he is most impressed with the purchase. They hope the Beast cause are still intact. Vin is pleased that the event was worthwhile for Blaine. As Blaine begins to speak, Vin suddenly feels an intense, palpable bloodlust that isn't directed at him. He drops to his knees, bewildered by the situation. Guards arrive and instruct the king to stay behind. Priscilla tells them not to worry about her and to save the children. Blaine draws his sword and demands to know who dared to attack the royal family. They searched the room and found Seba sitting on the floor. Art realized that he had lost control of the situation. Eleanor began to cry. Vin wondered what had happened. Reynold and a few others arrived, asking if everything was all right. A guard assured them that the room had been thoroughly checked and was fine, and he instructed Reynold to check outside. Art felt a pang of guilt and asked Sylvie if she was okay. She confirmed she was fine. Then, a man arrived to report that an intruder had appeared, as reported by Captain Lewin. Blaine was reassured that everything was under control. Art was surprised and felt grateful that, thanks to the intruder, his sacrifice had not been in vain. A knight questioned Seba about how a royal guard could fall so easily from a minor intimidation by an intruder. Another knight agreed, commenting that Seba's fall was a sign he might not last long. Seba replied that he merely slipped and then shot Art an angry look before turning away. The auctioneer thanked the guards for their service and announced that the auction house would continue. He then revealed that the final item for the day's event was up next. According to tradition, the best item was saved for the last, and he was not one to undermine tradition. He wondered who would be fortunate enough to acquire the treasure, and then revealed that it was an infant world lion. For those unfamiliar with this magnificent mana beast, he explained that an adult world lion has the potential to become a powerful B-class mana beast. He boldly stated that with proper care, the infant world lion could even evolve into an A-class beast. Art noticed that Seba wasn't paying any attention to the other beasts. The auctioneer emphasized that taking care of and treasuring such a fine beast would allow its owner to become a legendary beast tamer. The bidding would start at 500 gold. The bid quickly rose, with Blaine offering 1,000 gold. As the bidding stalled, Vin told Blaine that it seemed no one would bid against the king. He congratulated Blaine in advance, noting that the white gold tablet seemed more than fair, and thanked him for his consideration and generosity. He then inquired about Blaine's plans for the new royal pet, suggesting that it might be better for Blaine to tame it himself. Blaine replied that, as tempting as it was for him to form a bond with the beast, he was considering giving it to Curtis. The decision would depend on Curtis's performance. Curtis assured him he would do his best. Priscilla asked if this meant she wouldn't have to endure his tedious lectures anymore. Curtis replied that she shouldn't speak to their father. Art felt that the royal family was behaving quite normally. Vin informed Blaine that the auction was about to end and offered to gather the items and send them to him. Blaine responded that he had little patience to wait for the items and preferred to go with Vin. Vin then invited him to follow. As they were leaving, Seba excused himself from Blaine and whispered something in his ear. Blaine nodded, saying he now understood. Art watched this interaction with a sense of unease. They arrived at a room where Vin mentioned an attendant would soon bring Blaine's items. He then called Art over and showed him everything he had requested, except for a sword. Art thought it might be better to look around and see if he could find something else he liked. Alice offered to hold on to the items while Art looked for the sword. Art thanked her for her help. Blaine asked Art if he was planning to take sword lessons. He mentioned that Curtis had just started learning as well, and suggested that they might arrange a friendly spar between them one day. Seba interjected, saying that Curtis would only pick up bad habits if he sparred with mere commoners. Art responded that he was honored by the suggestion, but that swords were merely a hobby for him, and he could never hope to reach Curtis's level. Reynold arrived, searching for Vin. Vin invited him in, mentioning that the king wanted to meet him. Reynold knelt before King Blaine and apologized for the intrusion. Blaine remarked that he had heard Reynold was the one who captured the intruder earlier and noted that Vin had a capable hand in him. Reynold humbly replied that he didn't deserve such praise, as he was only doing his job. Blaine then inquired if Art was Reynold's son. Reynold confirmed this and asked if there was anything he could assist with. Blaine said that Seba had been a royal guard for many years, providing invaluable service to the royal family countless times. For his exemplary service, Seba had earned Blaine's trust and respect. Blaine felt it was time to reward Seba. And given Seba's apparent appreciation for Art's bond, he believed that bestowing a royal guard's bond upon Art would be a great service to the kingdom. Blaine added that Seba had taken a particular interest in Art's bond. Reynolds looked towards Art and asked Blaine to excuse him so he could speak with Art directly. Blaine expressed his willingness to compensate Art for his bond, stating that the cost of hiring a mage to sever the contract between Art and the manor beast would be covered by them. Reynolds apologized to Blaine, explaining that neither he nor his wife had any influence over Art's bond since Art had acquired it independently. Therefore, Reynolds could not speak on Art's behalf regarding the matter. Blaine then locked eyes with Art, who met his gaze. Seba remarked that Art's parents should have taught him to lower his gaze when speaking to superiors. Blaine intervened, assuring Art that he had heard the conversation between Blaine and Reynolds and that there was no need to repeat it. Blaine asked for Art's opinion and assured him that his royal armory would have a sword befitting any aspiring young knight. Art remained calm, mindful of Blaine's position as the King of Spain. He bowed and thanked Blaine for the generous offer but politely declined, stating that even the most magnificent sword could never replace Sylvie. As Seba began to shout at Art, Blaine intervened and offered Art the opportunity to trade Sylvie for the world lion cub that he had just purchased. Curtis interjected, stating that the lion cub would be going to him. Blaine inquired about Art's stance, noting that while Art's beasts seemed unique, reptilian beasts rarely grew to be as powerful as true legendary manor beasts. Art apologized for not being clear earlier and reiterated that he did not wish to give, sell, or trade Sylvie. Blaine expressed that he had asked Art for a favor twice before and that his patience was running thin. He requested, for the final time, if Art would be willing to give Sylvie to them. Art asked if he could pose a question to Blaine how much would he sell his own child for. Blaine had made the same request 3 times, each time rejected by Art. It seemed that Blaine's pride prevented him from accepting Art's refusal, and Blaine did not appear to grasp the seriousness of his request. Art hoped his question would make the gravity of the situation clear. He again asked Blaine how much money he would require in exchange for his own son or daughter. Everyone was shocked by Art's words. Seba signaled a knight to attack Art. The knight charged at Art, demanding to know how he dared to insult the royal family. Art noticed that the knight was concentrating all his mana into his sword, intending to cut Art in half. He kept his mana flow calm and even, anticipating the knight's movements and controlling the path of the attack. Art dodged the strike encountered by disrupting the knight's balance, using both his own and the knight's movements against him. With a precise punch, Art struck the knight. Seba thought that the knight had failed to land a hit, wasting a perfect opportunity. Even if Seba was punched, he intended to handle the situation himself. What the king did not realize was that a bond capable of forming an equal contract at such a young age indicated that it would eventually surpass a class. Seba was determined to obtain such a bond. Art used his power to halt everyone in the room, except himself and Seba. Seba, unfazed, declared that it was futile. Art responded, stating that spells reliant on ambient mana wouldn't work in this situation. His gaze was intensely intimidating as he stared at Seba. Seba demanded Art stay back, questioning if he really thought he was a match for a royal conjurer. Suddenly, Seba found himself gravely injured, his leg in severe pain. Screaming for help, he wondered why no one seemed to move or hear him. Art placed a hand on Seba's shoulder and calmly told him that no one was going to hear him, so it was best for him to listen while he still could. Overwhelmed, Seba began to cry, pleading with Art not to harm him, given his status as the king's personal conjurer. Art agreed, simply advising Seba to understand his place. Everything resumed as Art punched the knight, an action witnessed by Blaine. Blaine wondered how a commoner like Art could have made the guard trip over his own feet. Art fell to the ground as well, and Blaine was astonished by the scene. Lilia, shocked, closed Eleanor's eyes and began to cry. They soon noticed that Seba's leg was severely injured and he was calling for help. The Queen instructed the guards to check on Seba and find an emitter. Some men arrived to carry the fainted guard and Seba away. Reynolds lifted Art and Alice attempted to use healing magic, but it proved ineffective, causing her to become emotional. Vin's family was deeply saddened by the events. After some time, Art awoke in his bed, confused about how he had arrived there. He recalled his last action, using the static void, and realized he had overextended himself. He remembered that Sylvia had enabled him to use the static void by unlocking the acquisition phase of her dragon will. This ability allowed him to temporarily separate himself from the flow of time, a game-changing power available to him because he was a legacy tamer. However, this power came at a cost. Despite his years of training, Art could only use the static void for a few seconds before experiencing severe backlash. It was his first time using static void on another person, and considering everything, he was fortunate that the situation ended with him merely losing consciousness. Hi guys, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy the content.